Wow, Papa Zero here once again, and today I want to show you my version of the Holy Relic build and kind of show you what I did with my setup and how I went about building it fairly differently defensive wise, and how I stayed approximately under 10 Divines budget to make this build work. So without further ado, let's go over the gear and why I chose to go evasion based instead of the traditional way. Well, number one reason was the Svalin shield. I mean, right now it's sitting at healthy 57 divines, and I did not want to go that route. I wanted to do max block, I wanted to be defensive, but I just wanted to take a different route, do tier 17s quite comfortably. This was a self-crafted shield. The Graf blood this league makes gear crafting insanely easy, insanely cheap. And so here I got super lucky with the max chaos res, but ultimately I was going for spell block chance and chance of spell suppression. Notice that I actually don't run and don't need to run Tempest Shield, and I still have max block from spells. And again, spell suppression, going for a little bit of life, movement speed, and chaos resistance. Again, self-crafted. We have the gloves once again. I mean, I didn't even plus these. Spell suppression, life, and just a crafted throwaway resistance. Now the important factor is I did spend like 5 chaos to get myself the beast, which grants me aspect of spider scale. So with these items alone, I have 47 spell suppression. I also searched for an elegant hubris timeless jewel that was cheap and effective. This one was 40 chaos, and it added additional 12% spell suppression. It had nice mana reservation efficiency. It had 80% increased evasion rating. It had gained 1 endurance charge every second, which was absolutely huge. And then 10% increased maximum life. I also ensured that it was the supreme ostentation, so I didn't have to worry about the attribute requirements of any of my skills or gear. So we're almost at 60% spell suppression. The other piece of the puzzle was Impossible Escape Viridian Jewel. This was actually, well, currently it is the most expensive item in this build. It's 3 divines, but that enabled me to get 12, 5, 5, and with my next, I also grabbed the life and more reservation efficiency of skill node. Thanks to the spell block chance on my shield, this node right here, these nodes over here, well, I should say, yeah, all those nodes, and then here, which takes care of my max block for attack and spells. Continuing on, I am using Jeffrey's Crest, as everyone should. That way we can run 3 Holy Relics. I, of course, run Darkness Enthroned, which is, I think, sitting about 1 divine right now. And I have my 15% chance to poison enemies on hit in both of these, so that gives me 60, and then I needed additional 40, so I'm running 3 more Ghastly Eye Jewels to give me that 100% chance to poison on enemies, because that is very important for this build. Diala's male faction I actually got super early on, which cost me 5 divines, but right now it's sitting at a healthy 2, so extremely easy and cheap to get. But do note that a lot of my gear pieces have evasion rating, which is very important. I do run Quartz Flask, which gives me additional spell suppression. It also has the affix of increased evasion rating. I am running Jade's Flask, I am running Stibnite, and then Quicksilver. And because I'm running quite a bit different setup and I'm going for evasion, I'm actually running Grace Aura myself. So with this setup, with everything up, I have about 32,000 evasion rating, which is pretty respectable, I think. The sword, once again, I crafted myself. I just went for a Corsair, extremely cheap, extremely efficient, getting attack speed up quite high. That's why I have the Fractured mod on it. I spammed the Deafening Essence of Fear just a couple times to get basically this. I mean, all I'm looking for is the then open suffix, so then I can craft my trigger socket when using a scale, which in normal setup you would have Bone Offering, you would have Desecrate, and then you have your Despair. I chose to put Life Tap in this instead because of the setup that I was going for. And here I'll kind of pause the regular footage and I'll show you why I did what I did. So because of the setup I chose, I want to kind of show off why I did what I did, right? So typically you would have the Offering, the Desecrate, and the Despair Curse all in the sword. And as you're going through the map, you are triggering all three, right? Well, sometimes I would end up at the boss's room. It just triggered my Despair. And since it did, it's on a 4-second cooldown, it will not trigger again. So when you think about it this way, it is not the most efficient depending on when it triggered, because it can be too early, it can be out of place, it can be whatever, and then your boss is not cursed. The nice thing about this skill is, let's say you're holding the right mouse button down, right, as you're attacking the boss, you can just for about half a second, right, you don't want to press it, but you want to press and hold just for half a second, and it will, look at that. I just cursed an enemy, I just cursed the boss, whatever, and I did not really slow down, right? So just like that, half a second. But you can curse the boss or a rare anytime you want, and you don't really slow down your attack. And so, because I was able to get the mana reservations thanks to my tree, thanks to the jewels, I wanted to go for a different setup, and hence why I have life tap in those two, in my sword, on Desecrate, and my Offering, so that way I could use them without having to worry about running out of mana. Once again, this is a budget build, and I wanted to keep it as budget as possible, so my first Spectre is Perfect Primal Demiurge, which casts Clarity, which helps me with all of my skills that I need to cast. The second one is Warlord, not perfect, doesn't do too much, but I really didn't need him to. The main thing is I do have minions have 3% chance to taunt on hit with attacks. As for the Grafts that I'm using, one is Great Avalanche, which is pretty cool. One, it summons these spiders that you have seen a few minutes ago. They actually do decent amount of damage. I mean, obviously not going to take on an Uber boss or tier 17 boss, but they're pretty respectable. Now, they do have a chance to blind on hit, which is awesome. And then the Graft itself has evasion ratings. The other one I use is Tender Embrace. Essentially, it grants just another way to get endurance charge, more life recovery, but the other cool that it does is that gives my attacks chance to knock enemies back on hit. It is actually quite useful against tough like rares and tough bosses that can be knocked back when they are kind of being shooped back, and we get more protection that way as well, because if they can't be near us, they can't hit us, and it's overall fantastic time. So highly recommend both of these. When my AG is alive, I grab the Asana's Gentle Gloves for that Temporal Chain Curse. I also grabbed Windscreen so he can apply an additional curse. Guruk's Pelt, 10% life regen. Leer Cast for additional damage. And the Dying Breath for additional damage to allies. So these again, maybe about 20 chaos currently for this setup. Very cheap, very easy. Hopefully your AG doesn't die too often, but if it does, it's not that bad. But yeah, as you can see, about 10 divines, maybe even less currently for this whole setup. Very easy to acquire, very fun, very tanky. Highly recommend. Let me know if you have any questions down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another beautiful build.